everyone, it's Lawrence here from Unicorn Reviews. Today we're looking at Asus's Republic of Gamers Maximus 7 Hero motherboard. Now this is pretty much the go-to Z97 motherboard nowadays. It's not the cheapest, it's around 200 euros, but it has so many features. Now, if you're still someone who buys motherboards in stores instead of picking them up, get these nice Velcro lid so you can open it up. And when you open it up, you see the product itself, but you also get a bunch of marketing stuff, which for once kind of has interesting stuff to say. So it has these one-click virtual sound, so you can adjust your equalizer with a button on the motherboard, which is incredibly convenient, but I can't quite think of a case in which this would be convenient at all actually. But there is a button, so let's say you don't have a case and you want to change how your sound sounds, you can press a button to change your sound, I guess. More importantly though, and this is a cool feature, say you get hit by lightning and there's an Ethernet cable connected, your system won't die from it, so there's an overvoltage protector in the LAN port. It does use Intel's Ethernet, so gigabit Ethernet there. We also get keyboards. Now keyboard is a hardware chip, so it doesn't stress the CPU, and what it does is it lets you take pretty much any keyboard and assign custom features or macros to it without having to use software. I mean, you're still using some sort of software to program the thing, but it's, you know, it has a dedicated chip, so you're not using most of that stuff, which should really help with latencies and everything. So on the back of the board, more marketing stuff, but we'll go about, you know, into all of this really. It has Supreme effects. I'm not going to go into the BIOS because the BIOS is the same as with every Asus BIOS ever. It just has a bit more features, and because most of my audience are guys, people don't actually watch my videos for longer than 3 minutes. I guess most guys can't last that long. So the board itself, nice plastic protection, quite hard plastic. I wish Corsair's cases had windows with plastic this hard and unflimsy. But we can't have it all, can we? Now, motherboard looks really cool, but we're going to do accessories first, okay? So, we have a front panel connector. Now, I love these things. They don't really cost much to make, but you can hook up your case connectors to this and then you just plug this into the motherboard instead of having to hang over your board and look at the stuff you're plugging in. Great feature. We have a piece of paper, another piece of paper, a piece of paper to hang on a door handle. Then we have a warranty piece of paper, which is more cardboard-like. Our instruction manual, which comes with a DVD with everything on there, as well as a nice Asus case badge. So if you're one of the people who actually puts case badges on their cases, that's great. I'm gonna go with the best feature of this motherboard last. We have a Sli Bridge, so two-way SLI. It's not a very long bridge, so this will work with the triple slot spacing on the board itself. We get not 2, not 4, but 6 gigabit SATA cables. Half of them have a angled connector on one end. We also have a dark black nickel plated, actually just looks like a cheap motherboard, but this one's actually chrome nickel plated with black stuff on there, it says on the box. To me it just looks like a cheap thing, only a bit shinier. But then the best thing any motherboard manufacturer can include with its cables is this little piece of paper here. Now these are stickers, and you can just assign colors to the end of each sticker, as it says so here. And this is just amazing, because how many times do you have to unplug one hard drive and you don't really know where it goes, or you're swapping cases and you completely forgot which cable goes where. These help an awful lot with those, and you also have a bit of room here to write on them, so that's cool. But we're here to do a motherboard review, not a sticker review. So let's get all these boxes out of the way here and show you guys this guy. Now let's take it out real quick. This is probably one of the best looking Z97 motherboards on the market right now, and the reason for that is not only that it has a lovely black PCB, it's matte black, I really like matte black PCBs, but for some really odd reason it also uses pieces of red PCB. So there's a line right there underneath the chipset. There's also one under the VRMs, and then under the Supreme FX chip it's also red. Now, it doesn't really stand out, but it is there, and it's cool that they have it. But first, there's only one thing I don't like with this board, and I'm going to do that right now. See this thing here, this is because there's a red LED inside of here. You can turn it off in the BIOS, but you can also just unplug it. So that's just a double thing to turn something on. I would have liked to see this one just covered by the heatsink and just have the ability to turn it off in the BIOS. Just because it looks a bit messy anyway. But yeah, we get massive power. Does it say on the box how much power we can put through it? Okay, so the box just says these are 10K high-end capacitors. They don't mention the amount of phases we have here, or maybe more importantly, the maximum amount of voltage. Well, the voltage is the same, it's always 12 volts, but the maximum amps we can send through it. Kind of sucks, but then this is not a high-end overclocking motherboard. It will overclock really good, but it's not going to set a world record. It might get second place, but not the world record itself. Anyway, going below this, because this is just a standard Foxconn Intel 1150 socket, we have our 4 Dimm slots, so these accept DDR3 memory, pretty much whatever speed you can run them. The boxes always say, oh, 1866 support, you can dump 2600 MHz RAM in there, it'll still work with a board like this. And of course a high-end Intel CPU, because let's face it, you're only going to put high-end, overclockable i5s and i7s in there, you're not going to put a Pentium in there. But you can. So the Dimm slots are only on one side. I'm not sure how I feel about that. It comes from like the first P8 Z97 i Deluxe board was the first thing to have it, and it just was meant because you have more space to put stuff. Well, it takes less space because these only open on one side. It's a cool feature, but I like to put my memory in flat, and on an ATX board it's not really needed, but I guess it's helpful that we have it. Now I'm gonna go a bit higher up on the board. Basically what we have here is CPU fan 1 and CPU fan 2, so you can put 2 CPU fans on. We also have 4 chassis fans, so we have one here, we have one here, and one somewhere else here. Now next to here and here and here, we also have our LED poster, memo K button, the keyboard button, so this will turn the keyboard thing I talked about earlier on or off. Lovely start button, nice click to it, a reset button, no overclocking buttons, but just being able to turn it on and off without hot wiring it is just incredibly helpful. Now, next to those things, we have our 24-pin and our USB 3 connector. Sadly, none of them are angled. Now, I would absolutely love it if everyone would just put angled USB 3s and 24 pins on, because you always have these giant loops sticking out of them, and even the most expensive cable braiding will not look good when you have these massive things. I think EVGA does them on their motherboards, and I absolutely love them. Now, a bit below our socket we have an M2 SSD port, or whatever M2 device you decide to use. So you can get really fast storage without using cables, because everyone hates cables. We get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 PCI slots. Now this one is a 16X slot, but this one can only run on 8, as well as the bottom one. However, because this is Z97, you can't run 2 of them at 16 lanes at the same time, even though that is something AMD boards have been able to do for the last 3 years or so. So Intel, I still think the 990FX chipset is better than Intel's Z97 chipset, but Intel has a lot more other cool features, like for example these 8 SATA 6 ports we have on here. Now everything is nice and red, same tint of red as well, because sometimes you get like slightly different red on the PCI connector than you have here. Also, this one uses one of those press to open things, and you can access them from both sides, because a lot of times PCI slots have the open thing on the bottom, and then you put a 2 or triple slot cooler in there and you can't actually reach it, and your board starts making annoying noises, and yeah. But that's not really important, is it? Now, On the bottom we have our usual connectors, so two USB 2 connectors, CPU CMOS, clear, and a soundstage button. So this will mess around with the soundstage, but I think it's going to be more equalizer based because soundstage mostly has to do with your headset. But it does lead us to the Supreme FX audio. Now, most motherboards nowadays have really good onboard audio anyway, but apparently Asus's Supreme FX is almost or equally good as a dedicated sound card. It has a electrically separated PCB, and it has this cool line to show you just how separated it is. But if you're really going to use high-end audio, just get an external digital to analog converter, because that way you have the best sound quality ever. Now, something I always like to do, also should have said there's a single 8-pin on here, no dual 8 pins. The board itself on the back looks very, very clean. And to me this kind of shows how good a board is. The cleaner a board, the better. Or the cheaper. But with a high-end board that looks clean, you know it's going to be good. And it also has nice, I think they're aluminum, brushed aluminum even, metal plates here, you know, to keep the VRMs at the right mounting pressure. Really cool stuff, so you don't have to use stones or anything to hold the VRMs in. Other than that though, there's not much to say about this board except for the maybe not exceptional rear I/O, but it's a good rear I/O. So you get PS2 keyboard and mouse combo, you get two USB 3s, a SPDIF, or however you pronounce it, optical audio, HDMI, DVI, VGA, a BIOS flash button, or BIOS as it's actually called. But you can, so you just put a USB drive in there and you can flash the BIOS right there. Gigabit Ethernet and 7.1 surround sound. Now, as I said, I'm not going to go really in depth into BIOS and overclocking stuff, because to do that you have to be able to compare it to a lot of other stuff, and I'm a small channel, I don't have a lot of other stuff, so it's kind of pointless to compare it. So if you like this video, press the like button. If you dislike the video, don't press any button except the subscribe button. Also, if you like the video, you should also subscribe for more cool videos on, computers, a bit of gaming, mostly racing games, and just messing about with hardware, getting weird things to work. So thank you all very, very much for watching, and don't forget to just subscribe to Unicorn Reviews.